Hickok 45. Whoa, look at this shooting table. Looks like a shooting table, doesn't it? With some shooters on it. Lots of different firearms, different lengths. That's what we're going to talk about. The best barrel length. And of course, you know what the best barrel length is. I know what the best barrel length is. So we're going to reveal the secret to everybody today, aren't we? Especially new shooters, new gun owners, and anybody that has always wondered, what is the best barrel length on a Glock or on a Colt single action, on a Smith & Wesson revolver? You got them in 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch. What do you buy? Okay. Well, since I have fired all lengths on most of the common firearms, common types of firearms, classes of firearms, rifles too, but handguns especially, I thought I'd share my genius with you, right? Sorry, don't have any genius, but I do have, like I had to tell you that, but I do have some experience, okay? And you see it on the table. Been shooting most of these firearms for years and years, okay? So I'll try not to go too long, because you could endlessly talk all day, about this kind of thing and debate back and forth, but I want to give you kind of an overview, some things to think about. And you don't have to be a brand new gun owner, of course. You may have been shooting for a while. Maybe you have, you're a good shot. You got a Glock 19, you shoot the thing all the time. You've got a 4-inch 44, you shoot it quite a lot, and you've gotten pretty good with it. You've never fired a 3-inch version. You never fired a 6.5-inch or a longer one. So, maybe be of some benefit to you too, because everybody's not as nutty and addictive as I am and have all the barrel. I just happen to have all the barrel lengths in these firearms, so it wasn't like I had to go, we would do a video like this if we could find a Colt with this barrel length or a Glock with that barrel length. But we got a wide arrangement and variety here. So anyway, so we're going to talk about, even going to shoot. I do a lot of shooting today, so take a, well, not take a break, but this is not necessarily a shoot 'em up 10,000 rounds. So what am I doing? What are we talking about? Okay, barrel length, and this is strictly my opinion, my experience, all right? Chime in, you experienced shooters, or maybe fairly inexperienced if you have a lot of experience with one particular barrel length or something that you think might help the crowd. But based on my experience, I just want to cover a few things that I thought might help you, okay? And as we all know, what barrel length that you want in a firearm is going to be determined largely by your purpose, right, for that firearm, okay? Are you going to hunt with it? Is it strictly a target handgun, or is it a defensive handgun? Or does it serve all three purposes, or two of those three? So all those are big factors, aren't they? The purpose of it, okay? Because if you're going to hunt with it, it's probably going to be like a 44 or something like that, a big revolver of some sort, 500 Smith & Wesson or whatever. And maybe you want a little more velocity. Sight radius is a big issue too, because when you have a longer gun, you get a longer sight radius, and you can take a little bit more precise target picture with it, okay, a sight picture, right? So for hunting, that might make a lot of sense for you, right? So barrel length is an issue there, as it is with anything. Then again, maybe you want something more convenient, like a 4-inch. Yeah, Elmer Keith did quite fine with this configuration right here, 4-inch, 44. But there is a difference, isn't there? And it's a trade-off. Like this big old 8 3/8-inch 44, you probably would shoot it better, but it's a little bit bigger to carry. It's going to be what? A little heavier, of course, right? Maybe less handy, however you want to call that. So, just depends on what you want. Let's just shoot a couple of these. I'll give you an idea. What is one of the biggest differences that probably has come to everybody's mind right away? I've got a 3-inch 44 Magnum. I've got an 8-inch 44 Magnum. Well, we'll put a couple of rounds in, and you know what one of the big differences is going to be. Yeah, sight radius is one, right? And just handier. This little firearm I could have in a holster on my belt a lot easier than that long one. But let's shoot it. Let's shoot something like that target. Woo! Boom. Let's shoot that pin. Double action. Wow. Got a little bite to it. A little bite. And that's what I'm talking about, isn't it? Yeah, you get more recoil is the word. Felt recoil. We load up this 8-inch one, and same ammo, same power factor, which is a Magnum, a light Magnum, and we'll shoot it. You saw how that one, a little jumpy. We'll shoot kind of the same stuff here. Oh yeah. This is sweet compared with that one. Oh, shoot the pig. Since we're hunting now. Yeah. So quite a big difference in recoil, felt recoil. All right. So that's a big one on all of them. No matter what it is, whether it's a different length Glock, different length Colt single action, and these could be Rugers. I just picked firearms that I happen to have. Imagine that. Different barrel lengths. You know, like even in 357 Magnum here, there are different brands here. We got the K6, but what's that? About a 2-inch barrel. I think it's a little less than 2, isn't it? And then you got a 3-inch barrel in the Model 65, and then a 4-inch, you know, in the Model 19. So I just happen to have kind of the same frame size. That's a little smaller, but you're going to get more recoil with that little 2-inch barrel, aren't you? I don't need to shoot it to show you that. You know you're going to get more recoil, more felt recoil than the 4-inch or a 6-inch, you know, 357. Same with these Colts. This 4 3/4 inch, it's going to roll more on you than the 5.5 or the 7.5. How do I know that? Well, I've shot quite a few rounds through all of them. And then with the Glocks, here you go. Let's do that. Now I happen to have all the mags loaded on the Glocks, because these are all guns that just kind of, the mags stay loaded. That's all, of course. I'm going to shoot, it's HST, you know, carry ammo. I'm going to shoot, well, the Glock 26, the shortest one. Okay, nice little gun, not too jumpy, not too bad. Let's pick out the big one, the 34. Look at that length, look at the difference. Yeah, so that wouldn't be quite as handy, but you're going to get more velocity, aren't you? Now neither one of them hurts because they're 9mm, even though they're, you know, carry ammo. How would that be a benefit? Well, many of you already know because you use that 34 in competition. Why do you use it in competition? Because you can get, you got the added sight radius for more precise shooting, and you get less felt recoil, you know, quicker follow-up shots and all that kind of thing. Okay, so even though it's not a hunting firearm, that difference serves you well in competition or anytime you're trying to shoot fast and accurately, that kind of thing. So a longer barrel, slide barrel configuration is going to make it easier to shoot well, generally speaking. That's just a generalization. Easier to do precise shooting, and you're going to get a little less recoil. It's going to be more comfortable to shoot. Okay, it's going to just be easier. Really, probably for anybody, okay? I know I'm making some generalizations here, but you're given 10 different shooters, different skill levels. They're all probably going to shoot this gun better than this one, a little bit, all right? Now, it may not be enough to matter, and the same with the 44s. They're probably going to shoot this 8 3/8 inch 44 Magnum better than this 3-inch Magnum. It's just a fact of life. They're going to be able to shoot the long one faster and even more accurately, particularly get out to the distance, because with this little short sight radius, and again, this is something to keep in mind, especially if you're buying these guns for the first time, you're maybe a new gun owner, new shooter, you really don't have a lot of sight radius there, and it really, you've got to be very careful to line it up as best you can, and it does fine. You've seen me shoot all these before. You can do just fine. I could hit the gong with this thing. It's just that it's easier to miss, okay? So you lose something as you come down the line, whether it's a Colt, the Glock, the Smith or 357, what you lose is you lose some weight, but you lose sight radius. Now, you know, when I say sight radius, that's the length from the rear sight to the front sight, okay? And that's what determines how precise a sight alignment you can kind of get there usually. And of course, the type of sights and all that make a difference too. Okay, you gain, what do you gain? You gain concealability, don't you? Okay, and at some point you gain the, I don't know what you want to call it, shootability or the handling characteristics, the ergonomics. That you just have to decide, you know. Like this gun just feels good. It's really balanced well, this 4-inch gun. It's just a great sized gun. I see why Elmer Keith loved it. You know, it just feels good, balances right. I like even the 6-inch, feels good. And this one, that just feels great. You know, so the ergonomics. Now, when you get to this long one, I'll have to admit, even though this is my baby, I've had since 1974. I mean, it's a little barrel heavy. You know, I have to admit. And so you pick up with handling characteristics, the ergonomics, somewhere in here when you get a gun that's just not quite as long. Same with the Glock. This feels fine, almost too small, the Glock 26, to be ideal ergonomically for most people. You get into the 19, that feels good to most people. It feels like, yeah, man, the Goldilocks, that's good. 17, a lot of people like. You get into this 34, it's a little big, a little ungainly maybe. I mean, it doesn't lack balance necessarily. It's got the cutout and everything, but it's just a big old gun, okay? So where am I going to carry that if it's a defensive, you know, handgun? I mean, it would carry just fine, but it would be a little easier to find a place, you know, for this one or the Glock 19, wouldn't it? So you lose some concealability as you move up the chain. All right, so just some things to think about. That's really all I'm doing, giving you some things to think about. You pick up more weight, you know, not maybe as ergonomic, harder to conceal, that sort of thing. Same with the Colts. Now, most of you are not looking for a Colt single action to carry concealed or anything, but I have them in every barrel length. But it's the same principle. The 4 3/4 is considered the gunfighter length. That it's really handy and it's cool and it's balanced well. And a lot of people don't care anything about those other two. They love the 4 3/4 inch barrel. It's just, I mean, it's just great for draw and doesn't hang on your holster and that kind of thing. If you're doing cowboy action shooting or whatever, it just feels great. However, almost everybody watching would shoot this one better, the 7.5 inch. You really would. It just, it has, you get that sight radius I talked about, and you just do. Talk to people who do the cowboy action shooting, and they will tell you, you'll probably shoot that one best. You'll shoot this one fine, you know. This one, you'll do okay, but it takes some getting used to it. You need to practice with that shorter barrel. Easier to miss, all right? And that would be true for any of the short barrels. It's easier to miss. Same deal though, even with those, you know, less recoil with a long barrel, maybe more precise shot, and more pleasurable to fire in a big bore firearm. It's just that simple, just like this Model 29. Yeah, and the same thing would apply to the 357s. I won't shoot those, but just, you know, it's a principle that is pretty consistent. There's exceptions, I'm sure, and you know, you can fill in the gaps here. I'm not going to try to talk about or cover everything, but barrel length is one of those things. I guess I feel like I have a lot of experience, even if I'm not communicating it well. So I wanted to at least address it and give you some tips. Maybe more so not for new shooters and new gun owners. You're just looking for that first gun, and you know, you're not as concerned about having 2 or 3, or the barrel length is not something you can fully appreciate yet anyway. You haven't shot much perhaps. You can shoot, for you folks, you can shoot one of these fine, okay, for a defensive firearm. Doesn't have to be big at all. But some of you may have like a 6-inch revolver and you've been thinking about a shorter one or a longer one, okay? Same with a Glock. You may have a Glock 17 and you see me shooting these short ones and other people too, and you think, well, maybe I'll try a 19. They seem awfully small to me, but you know, that idiot Hickok, he shoots a 26 okay, and so do some other people I see, you know, in videos and things. So maybe I should try a smaller one, or maybe I want to try this one, you know, that kind of thing. Same with the Colts. So maybe for you folks, this will give you a little bit of insight. For me, I enjoy shooting all the different length barrels. Now, my primary thing, I love one that's concealable and I can use for anything. So there's an appeal to a gun like that, or that 4-inch. If I can enjoy that gun at the range, I could also carry it in bear country, and it can be like an all-around firearm. That was the appeal to Elmer Keith, sure. And same with this. I've shot that exact firearm so many thousands of times. And if you can get good with a small gun, and it will serve your purposes, what are the advantages of that? Well, you got the same cartridge all those fire, and you can put this almost anywhere, right? You sure can. And so there's advantages to it. But as far as fun, and generally speaking, the ones kind of in the middle are probably going to be the most fun to shoot, like a 4-inch 29 or a 6, a Glock 19, Glock 17. Obviously, it's the reason they're so popular. You're going to shoot those a little bit better. They're a great mid-sized firearm. Single action, the 5.5. People tend to recommend that to people. That'll serve you well. If you don't particularly want the cavalry model, the full length, or the short one, this is a really nice one. Okay. When you watch your westerns, most of them have that 5.5. It's just a very popular length, and just a nice place to be in terms of length. Now, the one thing comes up with people, and I'll let you all go, is velocity. I see a lot of people obsess over the loss of velocity because they go down 1 inch or 2 inches in barrel length or something. Okay, that's kind of another subject. But when you're talking about a defensive firearm, it's not irrelevant or anything. But my take on that is, generally speaking, not always. There's exceptions, but there are so many factors defensively that are so much more important than 100 or a couple hundred feet per second on the bullet that's coming out of your firearm. Okay, there's just so many factors that are way more important in the defensive situations and scenarios and all that sort of thing. You want a firearm like this that you can carry, that fits, and whatever you're doing, and don't obsess over the velocity. That's my recommendation. Do not obsess. Just to get a couple hundred feet velocity more, or 100, whatever it might be per second, not that big a deal. And if you're going to hunt grizz, maybe, I don't know, but I wouldn't worry about that so much. The one that you like the feel of, one thing I didn't talk about, it could be you just want a Model 29, for example. It's kind of a classic firearm, or 629, and you just love the 4-inch models. Maybe you've read too much Elmer Keith too. That's just what you want. You don't care if it kicks a little more. You don't care if you don't shoot it quite as well as one of those. You just want the 4-inch. I understand that too. That's me in a lot of ways. I like all the Colt lengths, but I like the cavalry, because that was the first one. That's what the cavalry carried in 1873 and on up. For 20 years, that was it. So if I was just going to have one of these, I'd probably want one that length. Even though maybe I shoot that just as well, and it's handier, or this one. So it could be for just historical reasons, or antique, or just what you like. You like the appearance of it. You think it's cool. Good reason. That's good enough reason. So anyway, barrel length, we could talk about it all day, and I won't do that. Like I said, I promise. And I will say the shorter barrels take a little bit more practice to master. Okay, be aware of that if you're new. Okay, if you're new to guns, be aware you're not going to shoot them as well probably. Okay, the smaller the gun, the harder they are to shoot well. All right, but then again, at reasonable distances, reasonable sized targets and that kind of thing, with some practice, you'd be fine probably. Okay, so barrel length, I just happen to have them all. Most of them. With these particular firearms, I don't have a Model 17 or longer Glock with me, but anyway, it's just kind of a cross section and a little bit of an overview on barrel length, and some things to think about. Your purpose and what you're going to do with it. Does the barrel length even matter? You just want to be the most precise target shooter on your block. Then you might want a little bit longer barrel and some really good sights on it. If it's strictly defensive, something you're going to conceal and carry, have handy a lot, you want to put it in a fanny pack or wherever you want to put it, whatever, you don't want an 8-inch barrel. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about the velocity, okay? All right, hope that was of some use to you, and I'm really glad you came by. because if you had not, I probably wouldn't have done this. So light was good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it, for all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com, and also while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.